She dated a little baby Betsy Lee's in my former spouse used to be golden bar. I saw it wasn't small.
Right, just run around in circles. I love those hyacinths. I have a book club, and we're reading Freddie. So I went to a southern there's a treatment that I'm glad I
Good morning. Welcome to the First Religious Society, Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts. And welcome to our new church year. I'm Charlie Himmel, and I have the privilege of being your worship associate this morning. If you are visiting us here at FRS today, or joining us for the first time, a special welcome to you. Those online can find this morning's order of service via a link just below the live stream window. We do have large print versions of the order of service and large print hymnals available for your use in the sanctuary. Just ask an usher to help you. FRS is a spiritual community overflowing with ways to get involved and get to know people. Please take a moment to look through your order of service booklet to see activities for the week, and be sure to sign up for a weekly Steeple newsletter on the website if you haven't already. We especially want to invite you to come to one of the 2 performances of Representation and How to Get It. This play is a 1-hour production depicting the life and work of Julia Ward Howe, about whom Reverend Rebecca will be preaching today. Performances are this Saturday at 7 p.m. and next Sunday at 1, with a talk back after each performance. That's September 23rd and 24th. You can find out more in your order of service. We're also looking for a couple of people to volunteer to be ushers for these performances. So if you're willing to help out, please see Stephen Bull Foster after the service. He's waving his hand now. Now, let us settle into worship. We gather each Sunday committed to love, peace, and justice. Our mission and our invitation today and every Sunday is, come as you are, journey together in love, act with courage, transform our world. Thank you. It's good to be together.
Thank you, Charlene. It's good to have you here at the pulpit this morning. Our call to worship this morning are words taken from Julia Ward Howe, who was sharing in this paragraph her vision of the world that she imagined and believed in. And she said in part, "There seemed to be a new, a wondrous, ever-permeating light, the glory of which I cannot attempt to put into words, the light of newborn hope and sympathy, blazing. The source of this light was born of human endeavor, people standing side by side, shoulder to shoulder, a common, lofty, and indomitable purpose lighting every face. All were advancing with one end in view, one everlasting goal, ready to march forward in a new era of human understanding, all-encompassing sympathy and ever-present help, the era of perfect love, of peace, passing understanding." Please rise in body or in spirit. Let's join in our opening hymn, number 126, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing."
Come
Please be seated.
Please join us in our chalice lighting. The words are printed in your order of service. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Each time we gather in worship, we also light 2 candles of peace, representing 2 places on earth we lift up as a sacred encounter with our world. We know that there are untold numbers of places on earth that need peace. These 2 we hold in our hearts and minds especially close in this service and through the week ahead. Our first candle this morning is lit for all of the homes, all of the lands, all of the cities and the towns across the country where suicide has become a reality. For this, the month where we hold up and honor the need to recognize mental wellness, mental health, and that we recognize Suicide Prevention Month for a time to end the stigma, to open our hands and hearts, and to care for one another. To this we respond, peace, sol, shalom. And our second candle this morning is lit for synagogues, homes, and all areas where people celebrate Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish celebration of the new year. May all who believe and all who are connected to this most of holy of times and days know peace. May the days of Oz bring reconciliation and renewal to their hearts and their lives. And to this we respond, peace, sol, shalom. Please rise again in body and spirit, and let's join our voices in our affirmation of faith, printed in your order of service, followed by the doxology. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. Please be seated.
This morning we honor an age-old tradition in which parents bring their children to sanctuaries to worship in communities of faith, to seek the blessings of life and dedicate them in the service of life. At this time, we reflect once again upon the mystery of life that we see in the spectacle of birth and of growth.
Unitarian Universalism affirms that every person comes into this world born with inherent worth and dignity and preciousness and pureness as their birthright. Every one of our children is an important part of this community, here and around the world, a partner in the work and play of our lives and a companion on our journey for meaning and purpose. We are so overjoyed that this morning Rennie and David Livingstone have chosen to bless their precious son, Tom Tom, here at the First Religious Society. You may, of course, remember that David spent a year with us in his ministerial formation, and we were honored with the gift of his blossoming ministry. And we were to have held this baby blessing last church March, and I had gotten COVID, and so we are now here again, well and healthy, with a 1-year-old Tom, who we are going to bless together. So, Rennie and David and Tom, would you come forward?
And now Tom can walk. David and Rennie, do you commit yourself to care for and nurture Tom's physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being?
Yes, we do.
And do you promise to support him in living into his authentic self?
We do.
And do you reaffirm your commitment and support to care for each other as partners in life and in parenting?
We do.
Yeah, I guess.
Now you'd have to turn this way, you beautiful family. Will you encourage this child to grow in freedom of spirit? Will you help him to recognize his inherent worth and dignity and to speak his truth? We're communing up here. Yeah, we are. It's good to see you. Will you support him in finding his place in the interconnected web of existence, of which he is a precious and indispensable part? Now we get to the fun water. I'm going to have you come forward in just a moment. What have you named this child?
Thomas Ray Sullivan Livingstone.
In the act of blessing, we use the symbolism of water as a sign of our common heritage. Water is life, and this water is symbolic of the interdependent life of our community and of the world. In addition to water, we use a rose where the thorns have been removed. And we will offer this to you after your blessing, Tom. And we give you this rosebud as a symbol of beauty and unfolding life, promise, and love. As I said, we have removed the thorn from your roses, symbolizing the better world that we work toward giving our children. While we know the world around remains imperfect, we pray and hope and work so that these children will learn to recognize the beauty and the goodness that does exist. And is there a rose?
There is a rose.
There is a rose. Okay, Tom, you ready? This water, by the way, was blessed. It was used in water communion with our youth last Sunday. It has been blessed by all of them with their particular wishes for you, every one of them. And it's been boiled, so it's sanitary. Just in case you're worried. Okay. With this sacred water coming from the earth, blessed by our youth participating in crossing paths last week, we do bless you, Tom. I now bless and dedicate you and your life. May your thoughts be wise and compassionate. I know, I tried to warn you. May your speech be kind. Can I touch your hand? May your hands do good work for justice. May your deeds be generous.
Thank you. Please rise as you are able and join in the unison blessing which is printed in your order of service. As we contemplate the miracle of birth, as we renew in our hearts a sense of wonder and joy, may we be inspired to a new awareness of the sacredness of life and the divine promise of childhood.
May we pass on the light of courage and compassion and the questing spirit to this child and to all of our children.
Now,
Please be
David
seated.
and Rennie have a few words to share with us.
I just wanted to share a couple passages from one of our favorite books. It's called You Belong Here by M.H. Clark. Thank you. Story of my life. All right. And you belong right here where you're home and where I hold you close. Of all the wonders I've ever known, you're the one I love the most. And you are a dream that the world once dreamt. And now you are part of its song. That's why you are here in the place where you're meant, for this is right where you belong. And no matter what places you travel to, such a helper, what wonders you choose to see, I will always belong right here with you, and you'll always belong with me. Us. Our baby. Thank you.
So beautiful. And now we're going to have our blessing of the backpack. So if we have any children who are in Young Church, we would love you to come on up. If you have a backpack, or even if you don't, come on up here right now. I see you. Come on up, my friends, and make yourselves at home. Oh, yes. Here they come.
Want to scoot over a little bit over there so folks can come in?
Yeah, so friends, you can, it's this nice soft carpet, you can have a seat anywhere you want. You can sit over here, you can sit down over here. We can sit in the aisle here.
You can sit on this too.
I'm gonna park myself right here. All right, welcome everyone. So today is the first day of Young Church this year. Is anyone excited? Is anyone a little nervous? And also, a lot of you have just started going back to school. I wonder if some of you ever feel nervous when you're going back to school or starting new things. I know that I do sometimes. Reverend Rebecca, were you ever nervous when you started school?
I was actually, Mara. I would get nervous, and sometimes I actually also felt sad because I remember missing my favorite teacher from the year before, and I came back and I didn't know the new teacher yet, and sometimes my friends were in different classes from me, so I was nervous, but I was also sometimes a little sad.
How about some of you adults? Do you remember how you felt going back to school? Were you, yeah? Were you excited to see old friends? Yeah. You were, Justin? Did you feel nervous? Anyone ever feel nervous starting something new? Yeah, see, we're not alone. So we're going to give you all blessings from this congregation. And these are blessings that you can take with you every day, whether you're in school or not. What do you think? What do you all think? We're going to put some blessings in their backpacks or in their hands. Yeah?
Yes.
Now, a blessing is when we put our hopes and our love into something for someone we care about. It's like you can take the love with you wherever you go. Reverend Rebecca, I thought it might be fun. Reverend Rebecca and I thought it might be fun if you would all give us, the adults, Reverend Rebecca and me, the chance to offer you a blessing.
Mara, you know what? Sometimes when you receive a blessing, just in case this happens, you might find yourself feeling bigger and stronger and really centered and calm. And you might think, why? What's happened? And then remember, oh, right, my church blessed me, and I carry that with me, just in case that happens.
Well, that sounds pretty good. I'm down for that. Let's do it. So, all of you adults out there, I would like you to bundle up some love from wherever you're storing it. So, you might rummage through your pockets. Maybe you have some in your pocketbook. And I would like you, so go ahead, find your little, and I would like you to form it into a little ball. Okay, it's like a snowball, but it's a love ball. That looks good. Kids, take a look out there. There's a lot of love blessings coming your way. Okay. All right, so kids, you can stand up. Get ready. If you have a backpack, open it up, because you're going to catch some of these love blessings in your backpack. If you don't have a backpack, get your hands out. Okay, here we go. Adults, get ready to throw. I'm going to count down to 1. 3, 2, 1. Look out there, kids. Here it comes. Catch them. Excellent. I think we caught a lot of love up here.
Yes, you did.
So, everyone, thank you so much. We're about to go down to Young Church, and I wanted to, hey, Rosalinda, can you, oh, there, that's exactly what I was, that basket that just fell on the floor is full of, and look, and now my friends, without even being asked, they're picking them all up. These are all things for you, my friends. Here, let me see. We have special pencils. You're gonna get these downstairs in Young Church, and they all say something loving on them. This one says, you are valuable. And we have some UU bookmarks for you too. So I'm gonna give this pencil to you. And adults, thank you so much for your blessings. We invite you now to sing hymn number 413, Go Now in Peace, and sing these children to Young Church. And we're all gonna go downstairs now.
The generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of our church, both in Newburyport and beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering, not designated as a pledge, goes to a local community partner engaged in important efforts to transform our region. September's shared collection will support the Jeannie Geiger Crisis Center. Every year, the center helps over 1,200 survivors of domestic violence, both adults and children. In addition to your contribution, please consider participating in the Jeannie Geiger Crisis Center Walk Against Domestic Violence on Sunday, October 1st from 8 to 11 a.m. You can sign up to walk with the FRS team on the Jeannie Geiger website. In a moment, the ushers will circulate through the aisles to receive your gifts. If you wish to give online, you can use the link in your order of service or below the live stream window. And of course, you can always mail a check to the church as well. Thank you. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Each Sunday, we lift up the joys and the sorrows, the hopes and the dreams of this, our beloved congregation. This morning, Betsy Hazen, our pastoral care associate, will be lighting a candle as I share each of the joys and sorrows. Julie Menon asks that we light a candle of love and blessed memory as she announces a celebration of life for her parents, Merle and Margaret Forney, at Central Congregational Church this coming Saturday, September 23rd at 11 a.m. The service will be followed by a light lunch in the fellowship hall at Central. Merrill and Margaret were loved and respected by many in the greater Newburyport area where they lived from 1999 to 2013. Merrill was the heart and soul behind the Kids as Peacemakers murals that were displayed around town back in the 2000s, and Margaret touched those she met with her kindness and love of life. Please hold, and Sandra Johnson will light a candle of care this morning for Sandra, and hold her in your loving thoughts and prayers as she recovers from a fall she took that resulted in several broken bones in her foot. And although the prognosis is excellent, it will be quite a long time of recovery. Annie Maurer asks that we light a candle of thanks and care and hold in our thoughts and give thanks to an anonymous donor who paid for an additional month of respite care for Nancy Evans' son, Paul. Paul suffered a devastating stroke over the summer, and this extra time will help him recover more and access the services that he will need going forward. We light several candles of joy. We light a candle of joy for Helen Mergida, Reverend Helen Mergida, one of our affiliate ministers whose 80th birthday is tomorrow. I light a candle myself of joy and deep gratitude for every single one of you. As some of you know, or many of you know, yesterday was my father's memorial service at our Unitarian Society in Hartford, where I raised my children, and I was there officiating with my beloved, who somehow is still sitting up. And the only reason I'm standing here is because these wonderful people are holding me. You may not know that, but they are. I want to thank those who were online. I didn't know you were online until you told me. And a special thanks to Mr. Ray Wilson, who appeared in body in the pew in Hartford, representing all of you, unbeknownst to us. We light 2 candles of joy for celebrations of love and marriage. We light a candle of joy for Christian and Joanna, who are celebrating 10 years of marriage today, and they're here, and 20 years of love, partnership, and friendship this month. We light another candle of joy and celebration for Dawn and Stephen Pelletier, who are also here, wow, celebrating 23 years of marriage, and we are grateful, they say, for all that they have. And we light one final candle, as we do every week, for all the joys and all the sorrows that, although unspoken, are held in just as much love and care. And this morning I invite us all to sit together in a minute or two of silence, meditation, contemplation, centering, feeling the love and the strength of this beloved community and congregation. Amen. Thank you, choir. Our reading this morning are the words again entirely of Julia Ward Howe, a Unitarian preacher, abolitionist, suffragette, amazing human being, mother of 6. These words were her Mother's Day proclamation, as she was the person who inspired and brought forth the call for Mother's Day. This was in 1870. These words were delivered in Boston, where she lived. Arise, then, women of this day. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether our baptism be that of water or of tears. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands shall not come to us, reeking with carnage for caresses and applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We, women of one country, will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure them. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor violence vindicate possession. As men have often forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of council. Let them meet first as women to bewail and commemorate the dead. Let them then solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace, each bearing after their own kind the sacred impress not of Caesar, but of God. In the name of womanhood and of humanity, I earnestly ask that a general Congress of women without limit of nationality be appointed and held at some place deemed most convenient and at the earliest period consistent with such objects to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, the great and general interests of peace. No, Mother's Day was not about Hallmark cards. As you heard in our welcome that Charlie delivered so well, we are fortunate indeed, FRS, to have the opportunity to be host to very important performances, 2 of them, next Saturday evening and Sunday afternoon, 7 p.m. and 1 p.m. respectively, a performance entitled Representation and How to Get It. It will be held here in our historic sanctuary. This provocative and powerful one-woman play, though created by 3, which you'll hear more about, invites us all to consider how the visionary politics of Unitarian leader Julia Ward Howe might help us respond to what is happening today. Howe, as I said, was a Unitarian preacher, a leader in the American suffragette movement, mother of 6, author of the Battle Hymn of Republic, poet, human rights activist, widely sought after public speaker, and a leader of endless numbers of causes. The play, written by Joyce Van Dyke and directed by Judy Braha, features Elaine Van Hoog as Julia. I was honored and delighted to talk about today's service with these 3 women who imagined and created the play. And I just have to say, it didn't really come together for me till this very moment that I was sitting down in my office in the lower level. It was last Friday, like not 2 days ago, but last Friday, and the storm came through as we were talking. Ooh. We lost power, all kinds of stuff happened. What? Who knows why that? Did that connect? But these women, it was beautiful and so inspirational. First of all, generous that they offered their time to talk with me. And they shared how this was a true collaboration. It isn't one of them, but all of them. So, like women. They shared the story of how the play came together and the years of dedicated collaboration it took, how COVID interrupted it, and you can fill in all of the blanks. And they say, and I quote, that Julia Ward Howe prophesized our nation's crisis today when she said that one day we would lose our democracy if this country remains an America for some of us and not an America for all of us. The question then and now is, what are we going to do about it? And I have found myself wondering, as I learned, she was very close friends and colleagues with Reverend Thomas Wentworth Higginson, minister of this congregation for 2 years. Did she ever stand up here? She very well may have. She spoke everywhere. Very sought after. Maybe she's the reason he was asked to leave. But they don't write that down. I look very forward to participating in a talk back after Sunday afternoon's performance, moderated by the director, Judy Braha, about leadership, community action, and the personal journeys of women in activism. I'll be joined by Heather Shan, Newburyport City Council President, Afraz Khan, Newburyport City Councilor at Large, and Sonny Douglas, City of Newburyport DEI. And we look forward to having that conversation together. The play's heroine and its message and the way it came to be that will be here all reflect our annual ministry theme of interconnectedness. Julia Ward Howe was a true Renaissance woman. She was involved in an interconnected web of issues, intellectualism, culture, religion, family, and play. We joked when we were speaking last Friday that there could be at least 6 plays written about this person, and that every one of them would have a completely different view on who she was. Again, she was mother, fighter for women's rights, preacher. She was a political activist, an intellectual, amazing intellectual, a forward thinking about the role of women in government and religion. All of those things and more were interconnected to who she was. And learning about her today, taking 15 minutes of your life and this day to pause and listen and learn and think about her matters, because she is a Unitarian leader. She is a forebearer of our faith who lived in challenging times and whose actions and words can teach us about how to make change, how to put our values into action, while we also maintain fun and joy and love in our lives. So too, the arts integrate entertainment, inspiration, and appreciation for beauty, while still speaking out about social issues. The fact that this play came to be here and the invitation to host the play came from Theater in the Open, a good friend of ours and very interconnected with us in many levels and ways, nearing the eve of our 300th anniversary, and that Julia Ward Howe was close friends with Thomas Wentworth Higginson, which wasn't known when we were asked this. All interconnected. Last week, we heard 6 degrees of separation at most. Everything is interconnected. Everything. We just need to pause, look, and listen for those connections. So who was Julia Ward Howe? Julia was born in 1819 to a wealthy, very wealthy family in New York City. Her father, Samuel Ward III, was a Wall Street stockbroker and a banker. Her mother, Julia Rush Cutler Ward, was a poet and died during childbirth when Julia was only 5 years old. Julia led, and the reason I share that, a very privileged life. Perhaps we don't live that level of privilege, but I have to say, let us think of these similarities. She lived a very privileged life. And in her opinion, that only gave her more reason to give back to society. She married Samuel Gridley Howe, a man 18 years her senior, when she was 23 years old. They moved to Boston and had 6 children. And let's be honest, Samuel was a controlling, if not abusive, man. Their marriage was not a happy one. He forbid her from speaking or writing. He even tried to control what she ate. Her daughter Maud wrote that her mother had a voracious appetite, the digestion of an ostrich, and little interest in physical exercise. Though she did take 2 walks every day, all of her adult life largely because of her husband's demands. Samuel died in 1876 after Julia had already broken many of his rules, including publishing her first book of poetry anonymously because he couldn't know. Their challenging marriage, however, continued to inspire her work for women's rights. Remember that at the time of his death, the law still gave Samuel all rights to their children, which of course she didn't want. So perhaps because of her many interests, including abolitionism, suffragettism, children's health, and the fact that she was a Unitarian, she worked closely with and was friends with many other prominent Unitarians of the time. Some of these people, just a few, included Clara Barton, founder and head of the Red Cross, abolitionist and preacher as well. Theodore Parker, many of you may know of his incredible work with abolitionism, where he literally had a gun under the pulpit to save his life because he was at risk of being shot for speaking out his views against enslaved people. She also was close colleagues and friends with Unitarian ministers James Freeman Clark and Thomas Wentworth Higginson. Glee Woodworth helped me to do this research into Higginson and Howe's relationship, and she found a note that Julia wrote to Higginson thanking him, a handwritten note, for loaning her his copy of Margaret Fuller's biography. Higginson was also involved in forming the American Women's Suffragette Association in 1869, which Julia was incredibly involved with and led, along with Lucy Stone and others. Higginson was also among the very well-known guests that Julia hosted at her home in Rhode Island in the years after her husband's death. And a final last glimpse into their relationship. In 1887, Thomas Wentworth Higginson was approached to help get the fledgling Boston Authors Club off of the ground. This is something that happened in cities around our country very successfully, but for some reason wasn't really taking off in Boston. So people went to Higginson and said, "You can make this happen." The group was having trouble attracting members, and they didn't know why. So Higgin began to ask his contemporaries if they were interested in joining. And what he learned quickly is that the men were at odds about whether to include women in this membership. Ultimately, Higginson walked away from it, and the group did not take off. But the story doesn't end there. 2 years later, in 1889, the Boston Authors Club was formed with co-ed membership led by none other than Julia Ward Howe, of course, and it still exists today. As Joyce Van Dyke said to me in our conversation about the play, if you had an organization, you wanted Julia to be president because she knew how to do it. Over the years, Julia Ward Howe did many things. She was the first president of Friends of Armenia, which was our country's first international humanitarian organization, founded in 1897. She led an organization to support female ministers. She led the crusade to establish Mother's Day, an anti-war rallying cry. Heather Cox Richardson, by the way, in her recent column wrote, and I'll quote her, "Mother's Day was not designed to encourage people to be nice to their mothers. It was part of a woman's effort to gain power, to change society." Howe worked across the aisles, to use a more contemporary term. She was often asked to speak about an issue of concern by people who were working vehemently against her work for the women's right to vote. However, regardless of the person, if she agreed with the issue that they were asking her to speak on, she spoke. She said, "It's not about the people, it's about the principles." I hope we're listening to this woman. As her daughter Maud wrote, she only asked for a $5 stipend for any talk, and, quote, "she spoke most oft about love." Julia's renowned poem turned song, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, written in 1861, came to her almost as a dream. She awoke out of sleep, scribbling down the words, and dictated, she said they were like being dictated from someplace on high. Some of the last lines in that song, "Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord," were the last words that Martin Luther King spoke before he was assassinated. Julia Ward Howe was without question an intellectual, the height of which was rivaled by few. She spent hours every day of her life on her brain exercises, including reading the most challenging of writing. She spoke French, Italian, and Latin since a young age and learned Greek at age 50. Her favorite philosopher was Kant, and her motto was, "Ask for a strong mind." As I was reading all of this in her daughter's writing and feeling rather discouraged, her daughter went on and said, however, it wasn't her exquisite intellect that was the source of her boundless energy and bright light. It was her spiritual life. I'll quote her, "What was it that fed the inner flame of her life so that it shone through her face as fire shines through an alabaster vase? She tapped the great life current that flows round the world. To those who know the trick, 'tis the simple, most natural thing in the world to do." The first thing Julia did every day before speaking Greek, learning philosophers, reading, writing, and speaking was pray. The last thing she did every day before closing her eyes was offer gratitude. And she took a cold bath every day of her life. Also true. She died in 1910 at the age of 91. Her final public speaking engagement was on May 23rd at the State House in Boston, 4 days before her 91st birthday and just a few months before she died. The topic of that speech, which was brilliant to read, was the topic for the need for pure milk for infants. Sanitation practices were inconsistent at best in those days. She was also working on a book at the time of her death that was addressing the definition of her understanding of a true religion. Oh, how I wish we could read that. It was never completed. So why, again, is this so relevant now? Julia herself said it best. In one of her speeches, she said to the audience this question, this was her then, in her words, "What will people say about us 100 years from now? We who have the power to help if we do nothing in this moment. Her daughter Maud asked her mother for a statement of the ideal aim of life. And she said, after only a moment's pause, her mother replied, to learn, to teach, to serve, and to enjoy. So when we sing our closing hymn this morning, let us remember it was written by a remarkable woman who had strong opinions about the state of our country. And I ask us, are we hearing what women have to say today? Amen.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, Battle Hymn of the Republic. You can find the words and music in your order of service.
Let's join together in our unison benediction as Charlie extinguishes our chalice. Again, the words are in your order of service. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. My friends, as we go from this place this morning, let us go lifted up and inspired. Let us recognize and realize that the world that Julia envisioned was a world where people, all people, men and women, and all people worked together for the common good. Let us listen to each and every voice, regardless of the appearance of body, that speaks of truth, that speaks of unity, that speaks of the glory of this earth and the interconnectedness that is real. Let us look each other in the eye and listen. Go in peace, my friends, and return again in great joy. Amen and blessed be.